Reddit fresh.
Am I the idiot for not wanting to listen to my husband recap his day? My husband and I are both in our early 30s. The moment he gets home, he starts talking about his day. He's a surgeon and he starts to talk about his surgery in detail, and it's pretty technical. I'm here trying to distress my day and deal with our 1-year-old boy, and he just basically describes his entire day in detail. It sounds like then I opened the right arm, harvested the radial flap by myself, and the nerves were hard to identify, so that took an extra 30 minutes there. Then I had to suture the vessels under the microscope and it kept fogging up, except in even more detail. I got annoyed and I told him I don't really want to listen to his medical cases, and it stresses me out because then I feel like I'm back at work. When I'm done with work, I want to be done with work and not feel like I'm in the or still. I have told him this multiple times before. He continues to do it. So about once a week, he forgets and will go on and on about his surgery for 30+ min until I get fed up and I tell him to stop talking about surgery. After this argument, he says he doesn't feel supported and feels like he can't talk to me. I feel like an AH as well because I don't have the mental capacity to listen to him recap his entire day in detail without being mentally draining on me. I feel like a horrible person, but I don't know if this is normal or if I'm just being an AH. Edit for detail, he doesn't talk about his day as, oh, this crazy thing happened. He talks about it as if he's giving me a lecture and I'm a med student. If I did it, it would sound like this. Today, I went to see my patient at 7 a.m. But she wasn't in her gown yet, so I had to wait 10 minutes for her to get dressed. Then the nurse had trouble drawing her blood and placing in 4, so that slowed my start of the day and I had to do the 4 myself. Then I had to use a translator because she only spoke Spanish, and that meant we started the case 15 minutes later than expected. Then I rolled the patient into the OR. Then I placed a pulse ox, EKG, and BP on the patient. Then I had her breathe 5 deep breaths, and then I started to give 2 milligrams of Versed. Then I gave her 70 milligrams lidocaine and 75 micrograms of fentanyl, but when I pushed protocol, she still had pain. After she went to sleep, I checked to make sure she could be masked. Then I gave 50 milligrams rock, then I bagged some more, then I used a Miller 2 blade to get a view of the vocal cords, then I intubated the patient. That would only describe the first 30 minutes of his day. Then he would continue to describe the remaining 9.5 hours of his day in detail as if he is teaching a med student. I'm not a surgeon for a reason. And even if I was, I don't want to mentally do surgery when I am off. It's not like, oh, a bunch of my cases got delayed so I'm back late. Oh, that nurse was on my nerves. Oh, BTW, I did a crazy surgery case today. Here are the quick highlights, not the idiot. I feel like people are missing the fact that he's not just saying I had a difficult surgery today and explaining briefly why. He's going into minute details. And you also work in the OR. Do you get into distress at the end of the day? Maybe you can compromise by telling him that of course he's allowed to talk about his day, but it needs to be broad strokes, or he needs to wait until the baby is in bed or something. Not the idiot. I get it. My husband used to do the same thing all the time, and I worked a stressful job that I really needed to decompress from when I'd get home. We agreed that we would not talk at length about things when we first got home. We would hug and I missed you and then do our own thing for a bit, then later hang out together and talk about our day. It worked beautifully. Maybe there's a good compromise to be found? Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for saying no to being my facil's bridesmaid? My, female 29, brother, male 30, Tom is getting married to Kim, female 30, next spring. I've always liked Kim for Tom. She's supportive of him and kind, and she really appreciates and adores him. I'm very happy for them. I've always found Kim a little excitable for my taste, but I'm well aware my taste is irrelevant and I don't see Kim that often as I'm a mom to a young child and I live abroad half the year. With this context, I was very surprised to arrive home from a trip to find a package from Kim containing a bridesmaid proposal, is that what they're called, kit, and a handwritten letter from Kim asking me to be one of her bridesmaids. I planned to give her a call within a couple of days to let her know I wouldn't be able to do it, citing a busy schedule and the demands of a toddler. Unfortunately, my husband had a medical emergency the next day and I had to deal with an ungodly amount of admin for the next few days, and it slipped my mind until I was on my way to Tom and Kim's engagement cocktail party at my parents' house. I wasn't going to say anything about it to Kim that night, but the second I got there she said she was dying to introduce me to the other bridesmaids, and honestly meeting them and hearing about all the activities further cemented my decision. I pulled Kim aside and told her that I wouldn't be able to be a bridesmaid. She snapped, asking why, at which point I calmly told her that while I don't have to explain myself and didn't appreciate her not respecting my answer, I didn't have time to take part in the activities or dedicate any time to planning or helping her. Kim tried to argue it with me, which drew the attention of some of her friends, so they were now listening in, and I again explained to her that I couldn't do it. Kim then snapped that that's just an excuse, and I can make time for things when I want to, referring to the fact that an employee of my husband got married last year and I planned and hosted their wedding for my friends. At which point I said yes, but Kim, you and I are not friends. Something snapped and Kim began bawling. Her intoxicated friends started swearing at me. It was a long night. There is no consensus on whether or not I'm the AH for not doing it. Responses range from whatever Kim's friends were saying, to why did she even ask you, to everything in between. Tom still wants me to change my mind because he says it would make his life easier, but says he won't hold it against me for not taking on the burden, and his opinion is obviously the most important here. It's not that I am holding out just to make his life complicated, I just really don't feel that I can do this, and even if I could, I really don't want to. Am I the idiot? ETA, people keep telling me to add this. The time between receiving the box and the party was 1 working week. I got home on Sunday night, received the package. Monday morning, my husband was taken to hospital. I forgot everything that happened before that moment for the next 5 days, including being asked to be a bridesmaid. My husband was released from hospital on Friday afternoon. The party was Saturday evening. It was only on my way to the party, having finally had a chance to think about something other than the possibility of my life falling apart for more than a minute, that I remembered the box. I didn't deliberately wait until the party to tell Kim. Everyone sucks here. You are an idiot because you choose the engagement party to tell her no. You should have waited and had a phone call with her and your brother to explain why you can't be a bridesmaid. Also, telling her you are not her friend was a bit petty mo. She is about to be part of your family and is an important person to your brother. She is the idiot because she should have gracefully accepted your decline. But I would imagine that maybe getting that news at their engagement party in front of family and friends may have also contributed to the hysterics. You're the idiot. I think someone being flatly told no to the request of "will you stand up for me and your brother at our wedding," it'd be kind of common to immediately just ask the knee-jerk question of why. For you to calmly reply that you don't owe her an explanation and she needs to respect your answer would be something I might answer passive-aggressively to a coworker I generally and genuinely dislike asking me to contribute to their neighbor's GoFundMe, and someone I also don't care how I come off towards. You cement that impression by explaining very helpfully that you don't consider her a friend at all. Now for the next video. Am I the idiot for picking my wife up from the airport 10 minutes late? My wife was due to fly into one of the most popular airports in the world last night at around 9 p.m. Her landing time was 8:50 p.m., no checked luggage, so I told her I'd be there at 9 p.m. At about 8:05 p.m., she apparently started calling my phone, but unfortunately I didn't see/hear the calls until 8:15 p.m. This is because, like her, I keep my iPhone with a little silent switch on at all times so that it just vibrates. I didn't hear the vibration because I had my gaming headset on and was gaming/talking with friends. Keep in mind, I wasn't expecting any calls from her until after she landed. When I finally realized she was calling me, I looked at my phone by chance. I picked up and she told me that her plane had landed early in this airport. Unheard of, and she told me to leave now. I just said, "Okay, I'll see you soon," and hung up. This is where the "am I the idiot" comes in. I thought it was fine to finish my online match and left the house 10 minutes later. I drove to the airport and there was a ton of traffic, as usual and as expected, and I didn't pull up to where she and her friend were waiting until about 9:05. As fate would have it, that was pretty much the original time we had planned on picking her up. To make a long story somewhat shorter, my wife sprung the fact that we had to bring her friend home as well, which I was fine with. They lived a few minutes away, and everything was fine until after we dropped the friend off. Then, my wife showed me how upset she was that I made her wait an extra 10 minutes and that there was a huge difference between waiting 30 minutes and waiting 40 minutes. At first, I kinda laughed it off and tried not to be upset back at her, but inside I was thinking, hello? I'm doing you a favor by driving to the airport and picking you up in the first place. Why are you getting upset over waiting 10 minutes longer than you wanted when people sometimes wait hours to be picked up at the airport? Eventually, we had a little back and forth about it, but I was just sick of arguing over something so small, to me, and I wanted to just agree to disagree, and my wife was also sick of talking to me if I wasn't going to apologize, so I went to sleep. Am I the idiot? I feel like this isn't an apology-worthy event. You can't just land almost an hour early and expect your driver, even if they're your husband, to drop everything they're doing and come pick you up immediately, right? Edit 1. I was not aware of the fact that you could track arrival times of flights after they left their departing location. That's my bad. I will do better in the future. Also, someone said I'm an AH for not missing my wife. She was gone for one night. I did not miss her in the true sense of the word, LOL. Edit 2. I literally just showed my wife some of the responses here, and she had the exact response I thought she would, because she's my wife. She laughed. Someone really thought their response to me saying that I didn't miss my wife was clever when they said, show her this one too. Well, I did, and she laughed. We're adults in our 30s, and we've been together for almost a decade. A night apart isn't poop. You're the idiot. I'm doing her a favor, your wife? Picking her up at the airport is doing her a huge favor? What a chivalrous husband you are. Jeers creepers, dude. And she told you her plane landed early, but rather than leave early you played an online video game? That's super important. Good grief. You're the idiot for the reasons people have already mentioned. But also because based on your replies so far, you are refusing to admit your mistake and you seemingly have a rebuttal for every comment here that's calling you an AH. Be a bit more objective and actually think of her perspective. Now for the next video. Am I the idiot for telling my son I don't want his friend at the family celebration? My son, male 16, has a friend who I'll call John, male 16. My son and John have been friends since 5th grade. I know they're very close. My son talks about him often and likes to buy stuff for him as much as he can. I only met John 3 times, and the only thing I knew about him before meeting him was that his parents were very protective of him, so the first time he came into our home was the first time he was allowed to be with friends. I was really happy to meet John at first, because he's my son's closest friend. But I don't know if he is those brutally honest types or doesn't understand there is a time and place for things. When I first met him, my son invited him to the birthday party of his oldest sister, 28F. John asked a lot of insensitive questions about issues my oldest daughter was going through, which my son must have told him, not sure why. He was very open with what he thought, even if it was just plain rude. He did this 2 other times when he was invited. My son defended him saying that John didn't know it was wrong, because he was raised differently from us each time he did it. We also never got an apology. We were fed up by the 3rd time, and I asked my son to not bring him around next time. He was still allowed to hang out with John, but not bring him over. My son's birthday is coming up, and what we do is have a small celebration with just family and some close friends, and then the birthday person celebrates the day as they wish. My son wants to spend it with John, but also wants to invite John to the family celebration part. He's asked multiple times, and I said no, I'd be willing to change my mind if John apologizes to the people he hurt with his questions and honesty. He stopped asking me, but it's clear he is upset about it. So am I the idiot? Should I go with it just for this one day? Edit. Just going to answer some questions that are being brought up a lot. Is John neurodivergent? I don't know, but I see now it could be a possibility. Did I explain to him the questions / what he was saying were inappropriate? Yes, multiple times. So did my daughter. He defended himself by saying he was just being honest, or that he just wanted to know. Why did it take so long for me to meet my son's best friend? Well, he has protective parents. He wasn't allowed to visit friends until October when he was 15, around my oldest daughter's birthday. My son never introduced me to John when I picked him up after school, so they may also have different ways of getting to and from school. Not the idiot. You said that he can still spend time with John, but you don't want him in your house because he was rude and made your daughter uncomfortable. That's totally fine. You don't have to include John in a personal family celebration. He still gets to hang out with John on his birthday. I think that's fair. It's your house, and you get a say on who comes in. If you like this video, you will probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.